Alright everyone, it's time for the Occult video 205. Is cleanliness close to godliness? A little bit of an occult perspective here. I will weigh in. It's sort of half and half in my opinion. Here's what I would say. First and foremost, that particular catchphrase, a lot of people think it's like in the Bible or something. It's actually from Eastern Proverbs, I believe from the Buddhist path. It has nothing to do with Christendom, although it's used by Christian, like in the Protestant sort of American swell 50s and 60s early atomic era tradition. It's commonly associated with Christian religiosity. The idea is the wife should be very prim and petite and keep the house clean. The kids must wash behind their ears, keep your teeth brushed. And father has to, he has to have the dapper swell outfit. His pipe is kept meticulously clean. And he sits by the fire with his book at night and stuff like that. It's very much tied into Americanism as far as Christian ideology goes. But it comes from the East. How I would answer this is as follows. Number one, I would say that having the productive capacity to not live in squalor, trying to keep your surroundings tidy, looking at it as a productive thing to do, looking at it as, a necessary thing for efficiency's sake as so far as you're doing any other work, you can find things and shit. I would say yes, it is close to being sort of like a deity. You are preventing entropy in your surroundings. Kind of a godly activity when you think of it. You associate these creative deities, especially in more modern religions, with sort of doing the same thing. There's sort of nothingness or just pure chaos, and then order arises. And they create laws, they create physical laws, in one sense, political laws, technically early man being influenced by these various spiritual forces. You would think of it as they are creating order, they're creating hierarchies. In that sense, cleanliness is sort of a doppelganger of that. It's essentially the human version of that. I've pointed this out with regards to gardening too. I consider gardening to be the only deific activity humans can really be involved in unless they're playing with nuclear fission and crazy shit like that. You are determining where a life form lives its entire life. You can kill it if you want. You can make it grow if you want. You can move it. You can put it in one place or another. You can choose what it's near. You can leave the weeds or you can destroy the weeds. You can put chemical, you can do all sorts of things. You can guard them from the outside world, or you can have a naturescape and let it sink in with the surroundings. No fence, no barriers or anything. It's a very deific activity. Cleanliness is similar. It's not having to do with plants, although you can have indoor plants, feng shui, aesthetics and stuff. And that would be the other part of it. Insofar as it's aesthetic, it can give itself over to greater spiritual learning. Like having certain surroundings for studying purposes is something that people do. Colleges, though, how do you think they arrange their common rooms or the design of their suites and stuff? It's to promote people having a comfortable place to learn. We're more comfortable, more given over towards other productive activities in certain surroundings. Like for me, I like to have a bookshelf nearby. It's just, it's a reminder to learn. It's a reminder to study. And books, they smell good, they look good. I like books. It's how I make half my money. I like plants. I don't like the dreariness of Vermont winter especially, so I've got so many plants in this room right now. I've got 30, 40 plants around me. Now I'm going to have more over time. I still need to split the Bilbergia bromeliads apart and crazy shit like that. And that's deific too. You're keeping those other life forms alive. Technically speaking, in captivity with a houseplant, you go a month without giving it water. You just keel over, you don't get found for a month, your houseplants aren't going to still be alive unless your roof has sprung a leak. You've created an insular environment in which you're like a god. The other part, though, is that too much cleanliness I wouldn't call godliness. There comes a point at which your surroundings are sterile and boring, and because there's zero entropy, you go into some rich person's house, they got the maid and the butler and stuff, everything's pristine, there's not a whole lot there because you're trying to accentuate the emptiness basically with this Fabergé egg over here on a pedestal, and the bookshelf has only one book on it because that book is really expensive and important. Here's my garage. It doesn't have any tools or clutter or anything in it. It's just for my Ferrari. It just seems too sterile. It's not comfortable, number one. It's not really aesthetic, and some people like it, I guess, number two. And it begins to get to the point where the surroundings are only about those material objects. Well, if it's an element of godliness, you'd think a deity isn't particularly concerned with the special nature of most things. They might have sentimental importance, like you look at my background. What's in it? It's things that I find important, of course. My greater scope of my office is not just about that, though. That's a backdrop for making my videos. That's what's important to that particular activity. I would say in that sense, keeping yourself clean is also kind of spiritual in nature. there are a lot of spiritual paths or practices. Like if you read some of the old grimoires, 16th through 18th century especially, there's a lot of ritual bathing, use of certain herbs to incense your surroundings as well as yourself, keeping your garments clean in the literal sense, and also cleanliness in the spiritual sense, as in chastity, ritual fasting, things of that nature to ritually purify the surroundings. That's not entirely the same as physical cleanliness like washing your hands or something, but it's similar. And then I would also say, of course, if you die, you're not going to be practicing from any grimoires anytime soon. You're a corpse. Keeping yourself clean and healthy and in, marginally clean surroundings, probably a good way to make sure that your life is, extended to its greatest. If you're living in a smog-filled area, there's smoke and dirty house and shit everywhere, you could end up getting some bacterial illness. Or you could end up getting, liver cancer or some crazy shit because of your surroundings. So ritualistically speaking, cleanliness, yes, I would say mostly is close to godliness, but you can take it too far. Have a little bit of clutter. A little bit of mess is a good thing. Having things a little bit uneven, especially within the Eastern Asian traditions, it's like within art, I can't remember the term. They find it most aesthetically pleasing if things are not fully symmetrical. So like if you've got a painting of two trees, they're not basically mirror images. One's a little taller, one's a little more bent. This one's, the color's a little different. These three bamboo stalks, they're never going to be the same height. That's not aesthetically pleasing. It's also not realistic. It's supposed to reflect sort of that nature, that aesthetic element. That's about all. Peace out.